This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and wide.
Hi, this is Marjohn Love, and this is Marjohn's Musings, and today's show is the Penultimate Projects. What does that word mean, penultimate? It means the next to the last. We're in November, and as anybody who's ever watched my show long-term knows, November is National Novel Writers Month. And so this show is going to come to you a little bit less edited than many of my other shows because I have to write 1,666 words a day to win the NaNoWriMo Challenge. I belong to a group called the Rhinosaurs, and the Rhinosaurs is a kind of odd, not quite an acronym. I'm not sure what you call it because we are the writers of the North Shore, and membership is voluntary and it's free. Donations are always accepted, but you don't have to come up with money to join the Rhinosaurs. And if you do donate money, Lynn Favreau and her husband Paul take that money and do things like make writing challenge bookmarks. It has the NaNoWriMo.org regions on the back so that you can find the Massachusetts North Shore Rhinosaurs. By the time you get to see this show, it'll probably be either wrapping up or over. But we have a rhinoceros because writers of the North Shore came out to be rhinos. And Paul, who is a very talented graphic artist, every year makes up our graphics for the contest. And when we go to libraries and coffee shops and other places that host NaNoWriMo with little black stickers on their door that say, "Write your novel here," we put up a stand-up card in front of our computer or our journal book, and every year they're a little bit different. This one is kind of precious, actually. The Rhinosaurs are going to be mining for gems. And I find Lynn and Paul to be dear, warm people who are so encouraging of young writers and old alike. They give you a survival kit, and this year the theme was Rhinomite, caution, explosive creativity. And when you open the survival kit, inside was tea and cookies, but they're gone. And they give you neat little things like bookmarks and a really nice pen that flows well. But because of the theme, they also gave you fake dynamite, 3 little red candles taped together. I got a bookmark and a backpack, a wonderful guide to rocks and minerals, because this year at the raffle at the kickoff party at the Villa Favreau, I won the grand prize. And I'm always amazed how many beautiful journal books or wonderful coffee and tea mugs people donate. Not because they have to, but because they want to. So this year, the Rhino Shores have word mining company matches. I haven't seen a book of matches that were logoed and branded for many years. I think the last one I collected was from Brackett's Restaurant, because people no longer smoke much in public. I got a Fireball candy, and I got a sticker to put on my computer. And I also got a sticker from the National NaNoWriMo that had gears and clock faces. The theme in the National NaNoWriMo is about time. You can write your novel anytime. I think NaNoWriMo has grown so big that people are overwhelmed at the national office by how many thousands and thousands of people all around the world attempt to write 30,000 words. No, excuse me, that's Camp NaNoWriMo for the kids in the spring, 30,000 words in 30 days. Grown-ups and brave adolescents attempt to write 50,000 words in 30 days. I will tell you, your bum goes numb and your feet fall asleep. I've done it, I think, 8 times, and I've only won 5 times. But this year's sticker is Working the Word Mine. And the Rocks and Minerals book I won was in keeping with the theme, because many of us who attempt this wind up with 15, 20, 30,000 words, and we didn't win. And what are you going to do with them? And Lynn Favreau told me, I want you to go back and read your stuff and mine it for the gems, the word gems. So in my winners box, there was a little velvet sack, and in it were these sodalite and lapis gemstones. And what's kind of fun about that is the lapis and sodalite are found near gold. So if you see these bright blue stones and you really are a miner, you go, oh, whoa, there's gold near here. Speaking of gold, I had 2 experiences with gold lately. Number 1, my wedding ring broke. That was not a good day. I was like, whoa, my wedding ring broke. I talked to my husband. He goes, don't be superstitious. It doesn't mean anything. I'll buy you a new one. I was like, you already did that once, because this was the 2nd wedding ring he bought me. When he wanted to just give it to me, I was kind of mumphy, big lip pouty. And he goes, what do you want me to do? Marry you all over again? And I looked at him in my best, puppy dog face. And I said, would you? So we got married a 2nd time. And that's when I got a wedding ring that matches my husband's. It's an Irish wedding ring. It's called a claddagh, and it has hands holding a heart, and the heart has a crown. People who see it aren't always clear on what it meant. Initially, the claddagh was a ring mothers gave to their sons going off to war for England. And these were Irish sons and Scottish sons, which is why the name is from the Gaelic. And the reason that there's a heart and a crown is the mother, in releasing her son into service, in the military was giving her heart to the King or the Queen of England. Well, a lot of these soldiers are like our modern veterans. They went off to war and they did their duty, and then they came back. And sometimes they didn't even get paid. And all they had of value was the silver ring their mother gave them. And they would give that to their sweetheart and use it as a wedding band. And that's how the Claudas became a wedding band. I did a whole section on that in my book, Saigon's Deadly Game. Little Vietnamese girl is talking about how she bought one of these rings and gave it to her true love and had no idea that it wasn't a unique, one-of-a-kind piece. It's in Saigon's Deadly Game, and the character who speaks the lines is Tu Kim. But in everybody's little survival box, there were river stones. This one is granite with flecks of mica. They try to inspire us, encourage us. And this scroll was in the survival box. A November word miner's prayer. Each dawn, as we rise, we know all too well we face the blank page. That surely is hell, to scratch out a living the best that we can, teasing words from the souls of our pens. With black cups of coffee and hard, calloused hands, we work the dark evenings to meet the demands. We labor our word count, our sleep we rebuff. We silently pray, Lord, 30 days, not enough. Take a look at these hands. They're worn and they're rough. My face scarred with chocolate. My language is tough. There's panic and conflict and sweat on my brow. To reach 50,000, I may never know how. Rhinos, take comfort. We'll see this month through. Help find me a write-in. Our words will ring true. And I thought it was just such a cool thing because a great deal of mining happened in the pioneer days and before. One of the reasons I called this show Penultimate Projects is 1623 Studios is moving. We're going to be in downtown Gloucester. So this next time you see me, I'll be on a new set with a new control room. It's a little strange. It's a little sad for me. I've been coming up here past the Blackburn Circle to this building since my 36-year-old was 16 years old, and we came up and Seneca Nagello assigned us to Tony and Bob to teach us how to run studio cameras and how to take cameras out into the community. It's a long time. Speaking of things being a long time, I was supposed to take my son to the Tea Party Museum exhibit for his birthday, but he got an infection in the roots of his teeth and he wound up needing a root canal, and he had a fever of 103 and we didn't get to go. And my husband is a man of his word. And he promised my son that we were going to go to that Tea Party Museum, and sure enough, we went. it was an interesting excursion for me. We actually went on the boat. The tea was pitched overboard, and they have floats that are wrapped in plastic, and they're heavy. They're supposed to be bales of tea, and the brave and the strong take these bales of tea and pitch them overboard, but then you go down below decks and see where the sailors lived, where the tea was stored. It was fascinating. In the gift shop, I bought 2 tricorns. I was going to have my husband and I wear them for Halloween. But Halloween is a kind of dangerous time for me with all the trick-or-treaters. I've told you in the past, I'm addicted to sugar. And although right now, today, I have not had any sugar, I have to be sort of like an alcoholic and take one day at a time. I don't always succeed. Every once in a while I get a Jones for chocolate, and I found chocolate that's less bad for me than the average bear. This is Ghirardelli Intense Dark Sea Salt Soiree. Each little chocolate square has 4 grams of sugar. Well, that's not very much sugar. But this stuff is an acquired taste, and kids who got this would think they were on punishment. So I decided not to bring home Mars bars and Milky Ways and Milk Duds and Whoppers and all that stuff. I thought, why tempt yourself so hard to have that candy in the house? And my husband, who's very supportive of me in a lot of ways, said, I have an idea. Let's go to Haney's North Shore Music Theater and we'll go see The Bodyguard as a musical. Well, I have 2 copies of Whitney Houston's CD of The Bodyguard. I've always loved her voice. I was a little ambivalent. Someone else was going to play Whitney Houston's role. Someone else was going to be her love interest. That was a bit of a challenge for me. Things change, and then I realized, that movie is almost 30 years old. That's kind of like, wow, I don't think of it as 30 years old. So instead of my husband and I wearing tricorns and answering the door for little kids, I wound up in a tiara at the North Shore Music Theater, and a couple of people, I went like in costume. Kevin wore his cowboy boots and his cowboy shirt. I told you he has this thing for Kent Rawlings. And we went to like a little buffet restaurant there. And then we went and saw the musical. It was quite good. It was actually quite good. The acting was good. The singing was good. They did some funny things with some of the songs, and we had fun. And I felt a little sad not to see all the children. But the next day, I went to the Rockport Inn and Suites to the pool. And there's a little cutie pie that goes there, a little blondie in her swimmies and her waterproof Pampers, and she goes with her daddy. And I said hi to her like I always do, and she got very serious and looked at me. And I I was a little worried, like, what? This child has the most beautiful smile. When she beams at you, the whole room brightens up. One of those baby smiles, you know? So I stepped down the steps into the sort of chillier than usual water because that last windstorm we had broke out a great big window at the building where the pool is. And I looked at her again, and I just said hi. And her whole face changed. And she looked at me, and she recognized me, and then she set her little shoulders and got herself together and went, boo! And, you know, brain dead me, I realized I had navy blue hair. So I said boo back. And this little munchkin's daddy was so excited and so proud of his daughter. Did you know she was in costume? It reminded me, you know, these precious little moments of my own son at about the same age going to the tree lot for Christmas and then helping me put decorations up and turning around and looking at us and going, Christmas tree. I couldn't get him to do it again. For any of the adoring family or friends or neighbors. He did it the one time, that was it for the year. Christmas tree. That wasn't all we did. We went to the Tea Rooms Museum shop with Andrew and treated him to like kind of a fancy lunch. It got me to thinking, you know I'm a tea lover, right? It got me to thinking about tea. I talked to you about the British putting sugar in their tea. But the year I was born, 1952, now we're going way back in the Wayback Machine, Elizabeth was coronated. And so there was a memorial kind of tin made for her 60th anniversary. At the tea room, I got a tea towel, and it says, you can never get a cup of tea large enough or a book long enough to suit me, and that was written by C.S. Lewis. When the Pleasant Street Tea Company was in full swing, they had a pastel drawing of a stack of books and a cup of tea and that quote. There was a special thing. You could do a tea tasting of all the teas that were thrown overboard, and there was a history of what those teas were like and their relative popularity and their relative value. Singlo, Young Hyson, Bohea, Kongu, and my favorite, Lapsang Souchong. The guides were all dressed in costume. I got myself some souvenirs. I told you before that my husband is interested in coins, especially if they're given to him by someone he respects. This one says, "Don't tread on me." And it came in a package that has the history of that flag. But recently, my friends at Northern Sun, where I get a lot of my t-shirts, the ones that have whatever political message I'm touting at the moment. They have a new Don't Tread on Me t-shirt. I give myself writing prompts. I saw this on my dishwashing detergent. I stick it up by the computer, which is giving me fits. Apple decided to upgrade their software, and we are now in Catalina. Well, a couple of years ago when I won the NaNoWriMo contest, my prize was half price on a new word processor called Scrivener. For whatever reason I still haven't figured out, Apple and Scrivener decided that you had to do an upgrade of Scrivener. The old Scrivener would not work with the new software. So I found Scrivener really useful. It has things like, in the old days, writers used to do index cards and put them on a clothesline, and then if they wanted to move something, they picked the card up and moved the physical card as they were arranging scenes and chapters. Because you read a book from the beginning to the end, unless you're one of these people that flips forward to kind of find out the end. And that's not the way most books are written. Most books, you write chunks of it, and then you get an idea to make this part better, or a bridge between this scene and that scene. You can't just jump from here to there. You have to put a bridge in. And, oh, that character needs more development. And so the book is written differently than you read it. It's written in chunks. And you put those chunks together like beads on a string, and you make sure that they all go in sequence. I thought that my book this year, because of my lace show and the fact that I started a book last year, The Lace Maker's Only Great-Granddaughter, and then my friend died and I had to sing at her funeral. I got kind of distressed and I couldn't concentrate, and I didn't win. But I have a lot of good material there. And I thought, well, how could you make this less of a memoir and more of a novel? And so this year, because of the theme of National NaNoWriMo being time, and it's a double entendre. You can write your novel anytime, but you can also write your novel in any time. And I like to switch back and forth in time. In Sam's West Coast Adventure, there's even time travel, but it's not like volitional time travel. An evil warlock curses Sam and Marge, and they start flipping through time. I thought, okay, what if I did this in a more controlled way and did making lace through time? And I kind of got back into that lace idea because I was at the Second Glance and I found this beautiful handmade lace of the Madonna and Child. And I thought, oh, I will talk about pregnancy and motherhood and matrilineages through time. In my family, Mary had Margaret, who had Mary, who had Margaret, who had Mary, who had my mother, and my mother broke the chain. She called me Marjohn. She was a feminist. There was a famous French suffragette whose name is Marjohn, Marjean, and she helped bring the vote to the women of the Omar Emirates, at least in local elections. Suffragettes, they're quite a phenomena. I think of Mary Poppins and the mother of the two little children being a very staunch suffragette. A long time ago on a show, I talked to you about the fact that I love this certain perfume, and the people that produced it stopped making it. It had a sandalwood scent and amber. And I was like bumming. And then I found another perfume, but that's no longer produced either. So this year for my birthday, my husband got me Elle perfume. And it comes in this wonderful box. And the little blurb inside, the mystery of this bespoke fragrance and its hypnotic and confident scent is a reminder to stay open to possibility and live your life to the fullest. And then on the other side, there's a piece of prose that's written as if it's a love letter, and it's signed simply L with a period. Well, my last name's Love. That worked for me really well. I thought, oh, okay. And the fragrance is really nice. It's a little stronger than what I'm used to, a little punchier. It's black honey and tobacco. Not like tobacco smoke, but like tobacco leaves. I decided I was going to do this lacing through time. And in any relationship that's long-standing, there's bumps in the road. And I told you on an earlier show about my distress about the MFA doing a thing on Frida Kahlo that I didn't like. I was kind of, I don't like what you did here. But my birthday came, and my friend Naomi, who has this very tiny printing handwriting, sent me a Frida Kahlo collage card with Frida set up with wings and a bottle-shaped dress, and it says, "Happy birthday with imagination." And she put a stamp of the full moon, and it was a commemorative stamp of the 1969 first moon landing. I remembered watching that live on television, and then the reruns of them taking one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind. So my husband, who loves me dearly and knows that I love horses, got me a card with a gray mare on it. It was a little bittersweet. That's what I named my shop on the Bearskin Neck. That my landlord sold the building and the new owner doubled the rent and demanded first, last, and security 2 weeks before Christmas. And I couldn't come up with 6 months' rent 2 weeks before Christmas and closed the shop. I looked at the card and I wondered, why would he remind me of one of my biggest failures, financially anyway, on my birthday? And I opened the card, and he crossed out someone and wrote my name. To Marjohn, who touches the world with her own special magic, happy birthday. Love, Kevin. And there's a love letter in it. 38 years of marriage, and I get a love letter for my birthday. That's kind of special. And then I realized that my husband knew that I loved horses before I had the shop. And maybe he wanted me to feel comfortable loving horses again, even though the shop is gone. I got a renewal notice for the Rockport Artists Association. I get a discount now. I'm a senior. I think I'm going to go down there and get a senior membership, even though I don't always like everything that happens at Rockport Art Association. And I was really hurt that they did not accept me as a professional member, even though Ron Strike and Beverly Parmucci and Dixon and Fred and every teacher that I ever took classes with there recommended me. I still didn't get in. Oh, life. But when the Rockport Art Association renewal reminder came, I also got a thing from the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. Women Take the Floor. And they were going to do women artists prior to suffrage. I thought, that's fascinating. I might find things that are good for my book. So I went down and there was a lecture. And then there were studio tours, promotion for the Boston Museum of Fine Arts about women artists. I'll share with you some of the paintings and the quotes. They had a big board when you walked into the Women Take the Floor exhibit that had quotes from women artists up on the wall. I almost bought a Why Women Artists Are Lucky tea towel to bring to you today to show you. But it was this hot pink color that I got this WBUR marathon shirt as a gift because I knew Click and Clack, the Tappet brothers, they were asking everybody who came to the booth at the Boston Book Festival, which I went down to that. Kevin took the day off and we went down there, and they were in a tent. And they asked each person that came up a question, and if you knew the right answer, you got a t-shirt. So, WBUR 90.9 on the dial, and I got a WBUR marathon t-shirt. I could choose from several, but when I type my name into any word processor that's new to me, autocorrect will change my name to Marathon. So I thought, oh, okay. I now have a Marathon t-shirt. But the Boston Museum of Fine Arts tea towel, that was sort of like my C.S. Lewis tea towel, except in hot pink with, quotes like, a women artist is luckier than a man artist because she'll never have to leave her wife for a younger woman. I thought that made some assumptions there, but I'll let it slide. But this tea towel from rather expensive Abigail's Tea Room was only $9.99, and the Boston Museum of Fine Arts tea towel in the hot pink that would clash in my kitchen, which is red and yellow, was $28. So even though I liked it and I wanted to support the museum, I didn't buy it. Maybe I'll go back again. I'm going to go with my friends to see their Nubian exhibit. And I also would like very much to bring my friend Nancy to see women take the floor. So last time we spent a great deal of the show on sun. And there's a rather sad article, but if you've ever lost a child through childbirth or stillbirth, you might want to read Molly Bradshaw's What to Expect. It's an amazing piece of work in blank verse. You know, you get to a certain age and you think about what you're doing and what you've done and what you still have to do. And lately, I've been thinking about things that I neglect to do. It seems I'm busier and busier and I don't have as much energy. The Open Door had an autumn breakfast. The tickets were only $15 and it was at the cruise port. And I slept through the breakfast. And I thought, you're an idiot. What? And then I thought, well, you're not an idiot. It was an accident. It wasn't anybody's fault. Get over it and do the next good thing. So the next good thing is that the Second Glance is asking for donations of specific things that disadvantaged people on Cape Ann need to be able to buy inexpensively. And things that people would buy as gifts for others at Christmas. I talked to a couple of the folks that keep that thrift store a thriving concern, and the proceeds go to the food pantry to feed people that are food insecure here on Cape Ann. And what they want is Cape Ann art and memorabilia, jewelry and books, designer shoes and handbags, vintage kitchenware and linens, and antiques and collectibles. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sunday, 11 to 5. And the donation center is at 2 Pond Road in Gloucester. So I'm going to donate some things to their sale. And then this year, you may notice that we're coming into the holidays and my Christmas angel and my Christmas carousel pony are not here on my Christmas set. As a matter of fact, we're doing like a mid to late November set. And because the studio is moving and there's going to be Thanksgiving and Christmas, I might not get back to you again until the new year. But if you'd like to support Marjohn's Musings and to support the Open Door Food Pantry through the Second Glance shop, there's 2 ways you can do that. They're going to have a holiday shop Sunday, December 8th, 10 a.m. through 6 p.m. at the Second Glance. And Susan and I have come up with an idea. Over the years of doing this show, and we've been doing Marjohn's Musings for over 5 years now, believe it or not, we're up to episode 68. I had no idea when I started with Marjohn's rant against closing down the government, which is being threatened again this week, by the way. It's like Republicans and Democrats, you are in Congress to represent the people. We would like a functioning government. Get over yourselves. stop your bickering and make the government run properly, please. Or I'm going to do something that my grandfather used to do. If anybody asked my grandfather James about politicians, he'd say, they're all bums. Throw the bums out. Because even in those days, there was always, and we're talking now the early 50s, there was always some sort of scuttlebutt going on. So besides not going to the autumn breakfast, I went to the Van Gogh Museum and I bought this gorgeous postcard and a whole lot of yarn, and I was going to do a tapestry weaving of this painting by Vincent van Gogh. The loom is warped. I have beautiful wooden shuttles that I bought to do the tapestry with. I'm thinking, Marjohn, if you don't get on the stick, you're going to drop dead, and you're not going to have done that yet. My husband is senior occupational therapist for the Army Reserve, and we're going tomorrow to Maine, and he's going to represent the Army at the Maine Occupational Therapy Association annual meeting. I'm going to tag along. I'm going to bring my miner's backpack with a laptop in it, and I'm going to write in Microsoft Word. Because like I started to tell you, when Apple updated their operating system, my Scrivener won't open its old documents properly. I have been like, and sometimes when technology kicks you in the bottom, you turn around and you say, excuse me, I'm old enough that I was alive before you were born, and you pull out the beautiful journal book your husband gave you for Christmas, and you write by hand in cursive with a pen so that nobody, unless they come into your house and know you very well, can steal your work. But I was at the Boston Tea Party Museum, and I didn't realize I was going to win the grand prize at NaNoWriMo. I saw this beautiful wooden pen. It says 1773. People ask me, why is the studio 1623? That's the year the settlers came to Cape Ann. And I was looking at these pens, and they were hand-turned at the museum shop, and they were gorgeous, but some of them were $2 and $3 and $4 and $500. There were things there I thought, wow, nice to live like the other half sometime. But I got this one. I probably paid too much for it. It's $9.99, but a wooden pen has a lovely textural feel. My husband got a travel mug for his coffee, and the quote on it says, "If this be treason, make the most of it." He also got a lapel pin, "Revolution is brewing." I've been thinking about all the brouhaha about impeachment. I am not a constitutional lawyer. Things have happened that have made me deeply distressed, to say the least. But I figure if the Democrats do their job right and focus on their platforms being substantive, like against extinction or the Green New Deal, put together a viable, attractive platform that'll make Democrats get off their behinds, leave their TVs and their computer screens and get out and vote, that impeachment might be unnecessary in a certain way because it'll be over in a year. And then I'm thinking a lot of damage can be done in a year. I'm ambivalent. I almost bought a t-shirt that said, elect a clown, expect a circus. And then I thought, that's rude. I mean, the man might be rude himself, but that doesn't mean I need to be rude. I think a lot of people are afraid to run for political office because they don't want to be attacked by the press and the pundits. But when I was at the Tea Party Museum store, I got a copy of the Constitution because I wanted to read it for myself to see if, in fact, some of the shenanigans are against the Constitution. And I came across an amendment that I think we really need to enforce. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause. That's like a search warrant. They can't come in and search your house without probable cause of wrongdoing, supported by oath or affirmation, meaning witnesses. Witnesses say, I think that person's doing something bad. And particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Having all my documents be made unavailable to me is a sort of seizure. If I didn't spend the money to upgrade the software, I would not have access to my documents. That's ransomware. But Scrivener's always been good to me, and I kind of thought it might be Apple doing this. And so I got a hold of Scrivener, and they said, no, you bought this program. You get a discount on the upgrade. And I did, and it wasn't very much money, and I paid it. And now I'm going nuts because something in security sequestered my word processing documents. And I have to open them one at a time, and some of them are not opening properly. It's like, oh my goodness, what a headache. So I'm using my pens and my book, and I'm trying to keep up with NaNoWriMo in cursive. Wish me luck. See, a little prayer I win this time. I'll talk to you about the great courses and the French next time when I see you. And you have a lovely Thanksgiving holiday. Share it with friends. I have these cookbooks I was going to talk about, Back to the Family by Art Smith, Back to the Table. His prose are beautiful, and his sentiments about sharing food with family and friends and neighbors and loved ones are really nice. Back to the Table, The Reunion of Food and Family by Art Smith. And then I was going to talk to you about pie because my husband loves pie. I'll save that for next time because pies aren't only for Thanksgiving. Sometimes we eat pie at Christmas too. And I'll talk to you about how I'm modifying some of the pies so that I can eat them even though I have diabetes. That's all for now. This is Marjohn, and this has been Marjohn's Musings.